All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Jim Barnard, who is a pastor and the founder of Tiller Coaching. Jim, how you doing?
Oh man, so good. I guess I should say I'm living the dream.
There we go. That's what I
Does,
love to hear.
yeah, does everyone say that when they come on?
They don't actually. You know,
Oh,
I've had a decent chunk of interviews, and I've probably heard it like six times, maybe.
okay. Well, I don't know if this is good on my part or bad. So,
It's great. I love it. I
all
love it.
right.
Well, awesome, man. We like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm in Denver, Colorado, the Rocky Mountain state, and man, I love adventure. The adventure I love the most is skiing. So I would love to say I'm the best skier in the world. That's probably not completely accurate, but I'm better than my 12-year-old son, so I'm gonna keep him thinking that.
There we go.
But yeah, so I love to ski. That is a big area of recreation for me. Anytime I can go, we're gearing up for a big season this year, and the projections is that we'll get a decent amount of snow. It's always dicey, but yeah, I think that's it. I'm a huge sports fan, so I love football and baseball and basketball and just any sport I can watch. Man, if I get free tickets to it, I'm there. That's my favorite recreation right there.
I love it. I love it. So sports and skiing for you, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about Tiller Coaching.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It's my baby. I started it just before the pandemic. Timothy, I've got a really hard and weird story. My wife got seriously ill 3 months into our marriage, and for the last almost 16 years now, she's just continued to go downhill. And it's been a hard, long road, man. It's one that we call it an expectation gap. I have hopes and expectations for marriage, and then our reality has come in far underneath that. And that gap is full of disappointment and dissatisfaction and distress. And so over the last 16 years, man, I've struggled in some unique ways. I've dealt with some serious bouts of depression and just like complications. Like my wife is really ill. She's had hundreds of nights in the hospital, dozens of surgeries. She essentially died on me twice. Like I've held her lifeless body. It's been a road for real. So as I'm going through all this, I'll be honest. I like God has done some really absurd things, and He's written a really crazy story in our lives, and it's given me some kind of weird sense of street cred with people. So
Mm.
when I was working in the church, I would just have just people every Sunday. Hey, can we hang out this week? Can we get coffee? I'm going through something right now, and I don't know who in this world would understand any part of it, except for maybe you. Like you've gone through so much. Like could I talk with you? And be like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so like several times a week, I'd be meeting with these guys and be like, can we meet again next week? And yeah, of course. And I'm just spending all this time out of the office just doing kind of one-on-one, something I would come to know as coaching later on down the road. And I loved it. I loved what I was doing. It was like my favorite ministry that I've ever gotten to do, is just sitting down with someone, sharing my story, asking to hear their story. And through this authenticity, like we get real and we start digging into what hurts. And it's been amazing. And I love doing it. So suddenly at some point I realized, well, this is all I want to do in my life. So I started praying about it, and I started thinking about it, and I decided to quit my job at the church, walk away from the security of a paycheck,
Yep.
and start this little coaching organization where I give away coaching to people that are feeling the weight of the expectation gap. So people that are struggling and suffering in real ways. And I get to do it a lot over Zoom. I meet some people here in the office, but I mean, truly, it's been like crazy to me. Crazy that I could float for the last 2.5 years, not charging anyone. There's people that partner with me and support what I'm doing, but man, doing this is like a dream come true. I mean, if we're talking about dreams, I didn't even know I had this dream until like I felt like God started like piecing it together, this jigsaw puzzle. And I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. And I'm so fortunate that this is what I get to do. So Tiller Coaching, coaching for the expectation gap, man. It's a wild thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love that. Just tell us a bit more about your motivation. I feel like it's going to be tied to the expectation gap or a bit more about your story, but what
Yeah.
really gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Yeah, I meet with a lot of guys, so I can be a little bit curt, and I say that I would give a left extremity to to
Yeah.
if someone would have done this for me, if someone would have offered this to me, I would have loved it. It would have been life changing for me. So my motivation is basically to give people what I have wanted so desperately myself, is to have someone walk with me in the midst of suffering, because it can be a long and lonely road.
Yeah.
When the suffering's real, it's really brutal. So that's one of my motivations, is just to give what I want. The other motivation is just to be able to share my story with people, because I feel like God has written a story in my life that is unique and hard and funny and absurd. I like all this stuff. And I just feel a great calling to share it. So, being able to be on podcasts. I wrote a book last year, and, have, our story out there on wax. And it really is like everything, to be able to model authenticity for people.
Yeah.
So that's at the heart of what I want to do.
I love that. Tell us a bit more about your story. Like, I feel like we haven't really
Yeah.
gotten into it. Your wife got sick 3 months into marriage, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yep.
So, kind of just tell us about some of the adversity you hit, major points, how you guys have been dealing with the sickness, all that good stuff.
Yeah, great. I mean, obviously, such a good question. So, yeah, 3 months in, like we were newly married. We were barely home from the honeymoon, it felt like, and then my wife Alicia suddenly just got like really sick. She couldn't keep any food down. So it was like, at first, maybe you've got the stomach flu or a virus or something. Like, it'll be fine, no big deal. A week or two, and it'll be fine. But then a week or two came, and it wasn't fine. Like, it was not going away. This girl was puking for hours a day. So we started to panic and started to go to the emergency room and visiting doctors, just trying to get some answers. What is this? What's happening? Like, this is pretty weird. And there was this one doctor, this GI doctor, who actually listened to us and took time and was very kind and caring. And he said, "Hey, listen, there's something going on with you that's like really big picture, and I I want to help figure it out, but I just don't think we have all the tests here locally." We were living in St. Louis at the time, and he's like, I don't know what it's going to take to get all the answers that we need, outside of maybe sending you to the Mayo Clinic." So for 3 months, Alicia was up at the Mayo Clinic, and I couldn't even be with her because I had just burned all my vacation time
Mm.
on the wedding and on the honeymoon. And so she was up there with other people, friends, family, and that's great. I'm glad she wasn't alone, but it really like rocked my world that
Surprised
I
you didn't quit right there. I might
yeah, like
have been out.
that expectation gap was like sending me for like a whirlwind. Like, I was starting to isolate and pull in on myself, and I was pretty depressed about all this. And at the end of the 3 months at Mayo Clinic, man, she did some of the worst tests like you could ever think of. Things that are called like anorectal manometry. Doesn't that sound just awful? I don't care what that is. It's just
Oh my
terrible.
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
She had to do this thing called biofeedback, where they were essentially training her how to go to the bathroom again. They're like, something's happening in your digestive system, and we think it might be that you don't know how to poop anymore. So we're going to train you how to poop. Like, there's a woman sitting underneath this false toilet seat tray. I mean, dude, Timothy, this is something like, it was awful, humiliating, brutal, just stuff that you would never want to put on an enemy. So at the end of the 3 months, I go back up for this final meeting with the managing doctor, and he walks in and pretty much gets right to it. And he's like, "Hey, Alicia, I want to help you. I think you're a ruminator." And I had no idea what this guy was saying. It should have just been a foreign language to me. I'm like, I don't understand that. But Alicia, being smarter and just more capable than me, she got it right away. And she's like, I'm sorry. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm nuts? And he's like, well, no, not crazy. I just think that you have some things in your life that you haven't quite dealt with, some emotional stuff that is causing these physical problems. And, she's like, well, why? But like, where would you get this from? And he's like, well, you reflected that there was some abuse when you were a child. And, that's pretty clear cut. Like when a kid faces abuse, like this kind of stuff happens. And she's like, I mean, yes, but not to that degree. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what about the anal rectal manometry? Like, what did that test say? And
Yeah.
literally, this guy's like opening the chart for the first time and reading through it and like, wow, that's really interesting. Like, what about the biofeedback? Oh yeah, you have no ability to poop. Like
Yeah.
he had no answers for the medical stuff. He had just heard something in the initial meeting 3 months prior that led him to a conclusion, and then he put us through this rat race for
I
three
got you.
months.
Yeah.
And it was so defeating, man. And I just sat there on my hands, like not defending her, not standing up for her. Like she's the most emotionally and spiritually sound person I've ever met in my life. Like there's no way, man, stop it. But I didn't have the courage to speak up. And so we ended up getting back to St. Louis pretty dejected and pretty upset about everything that happened. Like pretty clear that that's not the solution, that, because he's like, just get counseling, counseling is going to solve this problem. So we went to go see that doctor that sent us. And I think both of us were pretty afraid that this doctor was going to affirm that this Mayo doctor, this expert, was going to be like the gold standard. And yeah, you know what? Let's try counseling. Let's do this and that. And as he's like sitting there taking his time reading through all the test results and the charts and stuff, man, I want to puke because I'm like so nervous that he's going to affirm this doctor. And, Alicia's the puker, not me, but, but he
Oh,
finally looks up, he breaks the tension and he says, honey, it's not in your head, it's in your gut. And I hate that this guy ran you like that and gave you that conclusion. Like, I know that that was super defeating, but like, I'm so glad you went through all this because now we've got answers that we couldn't have gotten over years. So I'm glad you did this. And pretty quickly, he identified that the majority of the disease was in her or in her colon. So her disease is called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue disease where most people that have it, you've seen a contortionist, someone that can bend their joints in any direction. They're like rubber man or whatever.
yeah.
So Alicia has that same disease. It just doesn't play out that way in her joints. It plays out in her abdomen. So there's just no muscle tone pushing food through her digestive system. So she's been on a liquid diet for 13 plus years, I think. Like, and liquid gets clogged. So, I mean, it's a mess. And all of her core organs in her abdomen have prolapsed or fallen out of place. Like Timothy, she's got cow tissue and meshing and tacks trying to keep things where they belong. Like this is all really intense.
God.
So yeah, this doctor affirms it. He identifies it's primarily in her colon, and so he takes her colon out, leaves like 2 inches of colon, and then reconnects her. And when they biopsied her colon, he came into her hospital room and he looked like almost like shaken, like he had seen a ghost or something. And I'm like, hey, Dr. Presti, what's up? What's going on? And he's like, man, we just biopsied your colon and we've never seen anything like this. It was paper thin, but PVC pipe hard. Like we think it could have prolapsed or torn within days, weeks, like certainly not any longer than months. Like it was really fragile. So clearly it wasn't in her head. It truly is in her guts. And so really over the last, almost 16 years, like all these like near death experiences, after she got her colon taken out, she actually got better for a season, but it's been pretty straight hill down almost ever since. It's man, Timothy, there's so many stories that go into it, but Yeah, that's kind of the crux of it. She's now to a point where she can't drive, she can't work. She's, kind of lives life on the couch and, gets out to therapy or different treatments, doctor's appointments. But, that's kind of her life right now. So it is a real expectation gap that we're walking through.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, oh my gosh, man.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, that's crazy. And it really did just kind of blindside you 3 months in, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we knew she had some health issues,
Mm,
but nothing like this. Like
not to
it really was like one day was like a trigger. It just suddenly went off.
that. So you say how it's been going downhill. Is she set to live a for the next 50 years? Or is it like my brother has Down syndrome and they tell me people with Down syndrome die at like 40. And
Yeah.
so I'm asking like is her life expectancy still there and it's just gonna be a hard 50 years?
Yeah. I think if I'm being honest, I think we're all surprised how long she's lived, how long she's been willing to endure. In the last 6, 7 years, we found a therapy that hasn't helped her get better, take her up, upward in weight, upward in health. But this therapy has stopped the fall, and she's kind of in a season of plateau. And so that's given her a lease on life. But like once again, she's pretty low. Like she's around 70 pounds. She doesn't have a lot to work with. She's really fragile. So I mean, I've wrestled with this so many times. You know how like a lot of times cancer patients get, all right, sir, you've got 6 months to live. Go go live it up, get your affairs in order, that kind of stuff. Well, like we don't have that. I don't know if that's a curse or a blessing. I really don't know. Sometimes I think it's a blessing to say, all right, like in 6 months, like you're probably not gonna be here. Let's just do all the things that we have always wanted to do. Let's bucket list it. Let's make memories. But other times that's a curse because it's like you're living in fear on like a daily basis because that 6 months could be 6 weeks. They don't really know. So I just try to do my best to stay present in the moment. And we do work really hard to make memories and, travel when we can and just do anything that we can to enjoy what God has given us, and part of that is each other. So we work really hard to, enjoy each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is an it's one of those stories that's like you just don't think it like happens.
Yeah.
Like I'm out here living my life and then I talk to somebody like you and it's like honestly just thank you for sharing that. It just gives you like
Mm.
perspective, appreciation for life,
Yeah.
it's like gratitude. A for your strength and B for like the things that we have. And it really is like it's an amazing story,
Yeah.
amazing guy. Your family is amazing. You said you have children or is it one kid or
We've got a little boy. He just turned 12 and he's an absolute miracle. We should have never been able to have him. I mean, truly, like her uterus like failed before ever having a human being in there.
yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Like this kid's a miracle. He'll probably listen to this and be like, "Dad, you're putting too much pressure on me." I'm like, "Well, you're a miracle. I don't know what to tell you. You just are."
Do miracle things. No.
Yeah. Yeah, walk on water, bro. Come on. Turn that water into wine. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, what I've told you so far is just like the tip of the iceberg. The story really is insane. And
I know it was
that's
only
why
like
it's
the
a,
first 6 months.
yeah, yeah. But I just feel like God's done absurd things. And honestly, just walking through suffering, it gives you perspective that like normal life never is going to. I
Yeah,
just, like I don't love my suffering. I'm not pumped about it. I don't love it, but I'm actually really thankful for it. Like I can stand here today and tell you and the audience, I am thankful for the suffering we've had to walk through because it's given us a context for hope. Like, if you ever think about this, like, we understand the difference between day and night because we have like equal parts of it.
Yeah.
But like, if the sun never went away, we would have like no concept for daylight, like
Yeah.
daytime. There's just, it would just be normal, right? But the fact that we've got night, the fact that the sun goes away gives us context for daytime. And the same thing with suffering. I think suffering gives us context for hope because, I mean, it's easy to have like our own limited, like, uh, personal sense of hope. But like, when your hope goes away, man, like, what do you have left? Like, you're stuck with all this suffering, but then you understand it when it comes back, and it's like a bigger, more like glorified sense of hope. It's like a capital H kind of hope. And I don't know, like, there's probably people that are like, well, I've experienced suffering in my life, and that's not what I found.
Yeah.
Like, if that's true, man, I'm sorry. It's like, legitimately, I'm not trying to sell anyone on anything. Like, I literally have found so much gratitude and so much to celebrate through this expectation gap. So to be able to help other people, through tiller coaching and give that away to people, like, what an honor. I don't know. I probably sound like a crazy person. Timothy, tell me how crazy I am.
Dude, not at all. In fact, it sounds like you got a lot more figured out than a lot of the rest of us. What's that verse in the Bible? It's like suffering produces endurance.
Ooh.
Endurance produces. Do you know that verse? Do you know what verse I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. You're talking about Romans 5. And it says that we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces hope. Or I'm sorry, that suffering produces character. Oh no, now I'm butchering it. You put me on the spot. Here it
Oh,
is. I
good.
got it. I got it. I'm not looking it up. I know this. We rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and that hope does not put us to shame. And that's such a weird thing at the end. The hope does not put us to shame. Of course, hope doesn't put us to shame. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And that statement is a sneaky statement because it actually is kind of connotating hell. Like, to be put to shame is like an eternal damnation.
Mm,
And so it's a hope that says my eternity is secure. Like, this hope can never be stolen or destroyed. So it lives on forever. So yeah, we've had endurance. We've walked this pathway. We've gotten our character built, and I think we're living in hope. Like, that's what I'm trying for every day. But yeah, like, that's one of my favorite parts of scripture, man. Like, I talk about that in the book. So you read my mind, dude. Look at you.
I figured you'd resonate with that verse. So,
Yeah, yeah. Even if I
um,
couldn't get it right the first time, but yes, yes, that's my verse.
absolutely. Well, awesome, man. Let's jump into dreams and goals. What is
Yeah.
your vision for your life and your company?
Yeah, like, right now, what I'm really focused on is getting more coaches, because I'm, giving away coaching is pretty popular. People like that price point.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty busy right now, and I need to have more coaches that have their own expectation gap experiences. And right now, if I were to do that, I would just tell people, when you're meeting with someone, just think, what would Jim do? Like, I might get them a WWJD bracelet, and when they get stuck, just look down and be like, oh, Jim would do this. And
Okay. That's hilarious.
yeah. And so I just think to myself, like, that's pretty bad training. Like, that's not
Yeah.
helpful. But but what I do is so in my head, like, I don't know exactly how to flesh it out. I don't know how to train someone on what I do. Like, I'm never stuck for an answer when people are talking. I don't know how or why. Probably God's talking through me. I don't know. But um, like, I don't know how to train someone because I don't know how to, like, put it on wax that way. So I'm about to start a project. So I wrote this one book, The Suffering Guy, and I'd love for people to read that, and let's make a movie out of that. That'd be a dream come true. But I just finished ghostwriting a book for someone, and now I get to start working on the expectation gap book, and that book is going to help me uh, get all of this nonsense out of my head and, down on paper. And I can then use that. I'll publish that book and that'll be a great book, but I can use that to create training, to create some understanding of like, what is it that I do? And then I can bring on other coaches. And that would be a dream come true, because I'm not the perfect coach for everyone. I rely heavily on my experience, and I would hope that any coach that coaches with me would do the same. But I mean, I need coaches of all different expectation gaps, experiences. So I got to grow this thing. I need to. So that's like priority number one right now. So that's my immediate dream. As far as like long standing dream, man, I just desperately want to find more venues to share my story. You let me tell a little bit of it here, and that's awesome. Like I don't know, like I don't, my dream isn't to become rich or famous in this. It's just to frankly glorify God through the story that he's written. And so if I could find more and more opportunities to share that, that's what I want. So I think does that answer the question? Is that all right?
It does, yeah. That's a perfect
Good.
answer. Just curious, do you record your coaching sessions with people?
I don't, because I keep confidentiality with the people I meet with.
Makes sense.
And I've toyed around with that. Like, ooh, I could do a podcast series of like impactful coaching sessions if they would be into it. Um, but for training, that would be great. I don't even know what to do. Like, would I sit in on appointments with other coaches? Would I have them record it for training purposes? I don't even know. I got so much to figure out, but
Yeah.
I'm excited to figure it out.
What, what do you think is the biggest hurdle in training? Is it the questions they're asking, the answers they're giving to questions that the client asks? Is
Mhm.
it just the general dialogue of how much back and forth happens? What would be the biggest hurdle?
Yeah, I think it's probably the response to the things that we hear. I Man, Timothy, I've heard some messed up things.
Yeah.
Like the invitation to be authentic in this coaching environment is real, and most people take that really seriously, and they share things that they've never shared with anyone. This stuff you wouldn't want your mama to hear, like some messed up stuff out there, right? Um, how in the world do you respond to someone telling you, just dropping a bomb of like, hold on, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to you, or what did you do, or, whatever. So I think responding well to that is like, uh, at least 60% of the training, I think, is, how to ask good questions in response to that kind of stuff. Um, how to how to be like a duck. Like I might be freaking out under the water, but I'm cool and calm on this Zoom screen, right? Like I'm not disgusted by you. Like we're good. I'm your boy, I think that's really important. And like I might be freaking out on the inside, but I can't let them know that, because I, I don't want them to feel shame for what's real in their lives. Like what benefit
Yeah.
what benefit is there, so um yeah, I think that's, to answer your question, like that's probably where most of the thing goes. And I have like probably 20 things that I like typically go to, or things that I kind of give to the client, in terms of homework or like books to read, or thoughts to contemplate, or whatever. And so probably getting all that out of my head, and saying, all right, like this would be a good time to pull this lever where you're gonna ask them to do this assessment, and then how do you follow up on it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. 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 I got you. I got you.
Yeah, good
Well,
question.
appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah. So it's really it seems like you kind of have the stuff formulated, like your 20 things. Like that seems like a really great place to start. And I think at some point it's just gonna be taking the leap, man. Like having some people, and then they're gonna fall
Yeah.
flat on their face when they're coaching somebody, and it's like, well, why'd you fall flat on your face there? And then you'll
Yeah.
create a tool for that.
Yep, that's exactly right. And a lot of the 20 things are trial and error on my end. Like some of this, like I maybe tried 50 things, but 30 of them weren't that good.
Yeah.
So they gotta go in the recycle bin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, if there were one or two people that you could meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person, and they'd really help you
Mm.
take the next step towards really growing this thing, who would that person be and how would they help?
Yeah. Timothy Douglas, 100%. Like this is a dream come true for me, man. No, how do I answer this question? So when I first started writing the book, The Suffering Guy, I I did it in a panic. I wrote it. Alicia was on that therapy that was helping her. It gave her this season of plateau, and then the insurance company took it away from her. They're like, "We're not going to pay for this anymore,"
Mm.
and it was going to cost us $300,000 a year, which
Oh
is,
my.
yeah, just unreal. So I started, I bought a website called iwritetoSaveMyWife.com. It's defunct now. Like, go buy it if you want. I don't know. But I was writing like chapters of our story, and I was asking people to share it, go viral, like get this thing to Oprah. Oprah can write that check for us. Oprah could save us. So my immediate answer is, well, Oprah. Save me, Oprah.
Yeah.
Um, like, obviously she's such a big deal, but let me answer with another name. Do you know who Bob Goff is?
Absolutely.
Oh, that guy's a legend.
Yeah.
I, I try to be loose. I try to be funny and a little off kilter. And Bob Goff is that guy. Like, if you've ever heard him speak in person, you're like, what is going to come out of this dude's mouth next? It makes no sense. Like, he is a crazy person. Like, he's so crazy. He's like a lawyer in San Diego or something. And he heard about, orphans in Uganda that like
Yep.
weren't weren't being adopted and were like stuck in this system. And it was like, someone should do something about that. He's like, oh, I should do that, something about that. So he just flies to Uganda, meets with like as many people as he can, like pretty much on the spot. Uganda like hires him. That's like, they don't pay him, but they're like, would you be our ambassador? So he's not
Yep.
like the US ambassador to Uganda. He's the Uganda ambassador to the US.
Yep.
And he's like helped all these kids get adopted, and like he's like changed the world for so many people. And his writing style is funny and profound all at the same time. And that's what I like. That's how I write. And at least I would like to think I write. And I, I just think like meeting Bob Goff, he would give me such a leg up. He'd be like, all right, you need to live on the edge a little bit more. You need to go for it a little bit more, because there's things in my life that I like. I can sound all cool that I give away coaching and blah blah blah. This dude puts his phone number, his like legitimate phone number in the book.
He does.
Yeah,
Yes, he does.
like
I called
you
it.
could. Have you really? Did he answer?
No, I think he was like away with his family or something, so he went
Yeah,
straight to voicemail. But I've had other friends who called it and he picked up and he was like, "Hello."
yeah.
He was talking to him, so
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just make this happen. Like, you're asking me who could I meet? I could just meet him. I could
you
get
could
off this podcast recording and just call him.
exactly.
But I want to like really meet him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I missed him. I've never seen the man in person. I read his books, loved his books. I was a young life leader in college,
Oh, nice.
and I went to Malibu, which is their young life camp in British
Hmm.
Columbia, Canada. And he has like a house up there. And
Yeah,
he came to the Young Life camp because he was a big Young Life guy back in
yeah.
the day. He came to the Young Life camp and he was in the store, but I was in the kitchen cooking for the campers because I was on summer staff.
Oh, yeah.
And so by the time I was like done, I'd gone to the store. He was already gone. I missed
Oh
him.
no,
I didn't get to meet him.
Bob, come back, Bob. Where are you?
Yeah. And then I
What's his
talked
phone
to,
number? Quick.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Talked to some fellow summer staff and they're like, yeah, he and his wife were so nice, blah, blah, blah. I was like,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
he's a beast though. Uganda, like he didn't only become the Ugandan ambassador to the U.S., but he went there and like they had a huge problem with like witch doctors.
yeah,
Then he ended up like creating like a legal system there to get the witch doctors off the streets basically and keep
yeah.
it safer. But then he had a witch doctor end up coming to Christ in prison and is now
Yes.
in prison saying, I'm living my best life. I'm more free than I have ever been. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's because Bob Goff and prison.
Dude, he's literally has changed the course of history for so many people. It's insane.
Facts.
Like
Love
I
does.
Yeah, love does. I actually put I I cheated a little bit. I saw your questions and I was like thinking, who could I say? And I wanted to say Bob Goff. So I pulled out the book here and I was just like thumbing through it and I'm like, oh gosh, I want to be Bob Goff when I grow up. So what a great answer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, just curious, what do you think Bob Goff would do in your shoes right now?
Oh my gosh. That that question just made my mind explode.
I think it's a dang, it's a really good question. It makes me think the same thing with my shoes. I'm just like, what radical act of love am I neglecting in my life every day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool stuff. If,
Um
if you
I,
have
I
an
don't know.
answer,
I
you
don't know how to answer that, man. I really am trying on on the daily to just be as radical as I can as I know to.
yeah,
I think on some levels, oh Timothy, I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud.
go for it.
No, this isn't awesome. This is not good. Okay. I think on some level, like just the reality of like Alicia and like her continuing to stick around. Like I feel a little limited. Oh my gosh, I'm saying this out loud. Like this is authentic. This is happening real time.
Yeah,
Like there's only so much I can do. And I got to love her. She's got to be at the top of the priority list. And I'm not rooting for her to pass away. So don't mishear me on that. Like,
yeah,
but I think I, man, it's so much like over the last 16 years, I've been like preparing for her death, of sorts and grieving and imagining what it's going to be like. And I guess, truth be told, like when she does pass away, I know I'm going to be okay. Not just because I grieved, but and not just because like this has been hard and it'd be easier to not have hard, but because like I have like that real hope, like that pathway of endurance and character to hope, and a hope that does not put us to shame. Like I got to be consistent about that. Like I got to be hopeful with her living and I got to be hopeful with her dying. And I got to be hopeful about just all the circumstances. I got to be consistent. So, wow, that got deep real quick. I'm so sorry.
it did. No, perfectly fine, man. I love that you answered so honestly. Just curious, if you didn't feel like you were being held back by Alicia, what would you be doing that is more in the terms of radical love?
Hmm. Well, some of the people that I coach, I'm not enough for them. It's like, hey, let's get a counselor on the team as well. Let's get a psychiatrist on the team as well. I've had to send people to treatment centers. Some of them I've been able to go with them because they're like freaking out, and
Yeah.
it's legitimately a scary thing. I think like stuff like that where I could just like leave at the drop of the hat because like someone needed me. Not that I need to be Superman or like have a hero complex, but like there's, I went to a treatment center like 3, 4 years ago to get healthier in the midst of depression. And I like have a unique understanding of how that world works now. So if with my experience I can help, like, yeah, like I would just go. Like I would go anywhere for anyone. Let's do that. That's what I want to do.
Hmm. Go anywhere for anyone. I love that.
Yeah. I just made it up, but I think I believe it.
Yeah, that's gonna be the title of this podcast.
Ooh, dang, I love that.
um, well, cool, man. Now we're gonna jump into our thriving three. But before we jump in, I want
Mhm.
to. Have you ever read the book Who Not How?
No, should I?
I think you should.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
And I want to prod you in this direction a little bit. instead of asking how you could go anywhere for anyone, ask who do I need in my life to like have people know that somebody can go anywhere anytime for them, if that
Mm,
makes sense.
yeah.
Because while you may not be able to do it now, I fully and firmly believe that with the correct infrastructure, the correct financial backing, and the correct systems, you could set it up so that those people could have somebody with them anywhere
Yeah.
at any time. So,
Uh-huh.
and it
Yeah.
might not be you right now, or it might be you if you can have somebody from the family come with Alicia, but um, I don't think that's a. I think you
Yeah.
should stay with your wife, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can have other people. You can have systems set up, and it's part of growing your coaching business. I'm like anything's
Yeah.
possible in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
head,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, how can we or who do we need to be able to? Is
Yeah.
the question to ask.
Man, that's so good. I I want to say yes to people. I want to like use what God has given me to help them and to like help them trust Jesus in the midst of their gap. Like that's real for me. And if by showing up I can do that, like I had a friend of mine, this woman who her brother died in California, and she was going to have to do the funeral. Like she was going to officiate it. She called me like crying, like, I don't know what to do. Like, it would just be great if you could come, but I know you couldn't come. And I'm like, wait, why can't I come? Like,
Yeah,
you need me to come to California? I'll do your brother's funeral. I'd love that. Like, could I come? Like, please don't say no. Like, I'd love to do that. And like, I was able to in this circumstance, but I certainly can't say yes to everything. I can only be like a mini, like Bob Goff Jr.,
yeah.
probably can't go to Uganda right now.
I gotcha. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. We're gonna jump into our thriving three, and then we have a couple more questions, and we got like 13 minutes, so we're about to blow through these. Okay.
All right. Let's roll. Lightning round.
Favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one.
Movie Truman Show.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like
Oh
that
my gosh. Why do I love that movie so much? Like if I were to write a movie, that would have been the movie right there.
one. I love it. It's such a
Yeah.
good one. And what
The
is one way you
world
like to take care of yourself?
solitude. If I don't have a regular rhythm of solitude, I am gonna fall apart. So little bits of solitude in my day goes a long way, but quarterly I like to get away to a lake in the foothills here in Denver and make a day of just being silent, and I think anyone could do solitude no matter what your, faith component is. Like, you just go for it. It honestly, silence is like absolutely golden. I go there and I'll like approach God and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this and I'm going to shut up now. And for like 8 hours, I'm just silent.
Mm,
And it's like the most rejuvenating cup filling experience I can ask for. So I need me some solitude.
I love it. I love it. And what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet Bob Goff or Oprah?
I should stop tweeting at Oprah. I think she's getting a little salty, so let's not do that. I mean, I could call Bob Goff. Um, you know what? As much as those people might be able to help me, I think I know the direction that I'm headed.
Mm,
I think I know what God has for me, and I just need to be obedient to that and let the cards fall where they may. Man, like this book that I wrote, man, I used to like check the stats on it every day, like how many people bought it today? Like,
yeah,
what's my social media stats? Like, oh my gosh, like
yeah.
shoot me in the face. Like that is like so defeating. So I just like I need to put what I have out there and just trust that it's going to be received or not received or whatever people want to do with it. I'm just being obedient to what I got to do, and I think that's really just the answer.
Yeah. I love that. We got a couple more questions. That was the thriving three. This is our last series of questions.
All right.
Famously named the last series of questions.
Uh-oh. Bum, bum, bum.
What is one limiting belief that continues to pop up in your life, if any?
Okay. I have struggled in my life to believe that I am not capable, that I'm an incapable person. There's probably some trauma in my life that enforces that. And I have worked insanely hard to try to kick that because I mean that's not true. I mean, I might not be capable at all things, but I'm decently capable at some things.
Yeah.
Probably really capable of like one thing, but like to have a narrative that I am incapable is just not healthy or helpful. And so I've done a lot of counseling around that. I've done a thing called neurofeedback to help me create neural pathways that aren't littered with, terrible sense of identity. Yeah. Does that still exist in me? Sure. I will have imposter syndrome. You know, if you invited me to come talk somewhere, I would be like, why? Why would he do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I'd get through it and be like, oh, that was cool. That was so cool.
I love
So,
it.
yeah.
What actions reinforce this belief in your day-to-day life?
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a daily action, but every now and then this action pops up and it reinforces this belief that you're not capable.
That is, I wasn't prepared for that question, Timothy. This is hard. Oh my gosh. I'm not capable of answering this. Oh no. Can I say doing podcasts has exposed that? And no. I would say on the whole, like coaching has really exposed that because like I referenced earlier, people will tell the thing that they've kept hidden from everyone in their life.
Yeah.
They've never uttered the reality before. And I don't know how to respond. And it's not for me, it doesn't feel exactly like, oh, I'm not capable. I think for me, it feels like, oh, dude, like there's 1,000 wrong ways to respond. So I'm like secretly praying, like, God, just give me wisdom for a response because this person's going to stop talking in a moment and then just sit there and look at me and expect me to say something. So I've in that space, I've done a really good job of finding a healthy way to cope with that incapability because there's times where I've been straight up panicked. I mean, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So we got the limiting belief of you're incapable, or you feel that you're incapable, or that you believe that.
Mhm.
How can you, or how do you reframe that limiting belief to be an abundant belief? Like, what would the phrase be? Instead of I'm incapable, what would the abundant version of that be?
Hmm. I mean, the first thing that pops to mind is just like, hey, it's like no one is capable of everything. I am capable of some things. I'm capable of the things that I've been tasked to do. Um, I think that's like the positive phrase. There's another answer to that though. There's an answer that says that like is anyone actually capable?
Yeah.
Like I think for a long time, Timothy, I used to believe that everyone else knew what they were doing. Like truly, like I'd be hanging out with you and be like, man, Timothy's got it together. Like I should try to be like this cat. Like I'll never be there though. Like somehow you got the playbook and I just didn't get that delivery. And I think the day that I became an adult, when I became a man, was the day that I realized, oh, no one's got it all together. No one has it all figured out. There are certainly people that work insanely hard to make you believe that they know what they're doing, but they're making it up as they go along. We are all making it up as we go along. So that narrative, I tell myself all the time, like, it's okay to make this up as you go along. Like, because that's what everyone that listens to Living the Dream podcast is doing. Like today, they made it up. That's oddly comforting, isn't it?
It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
All right, we got one last question for you.
All right, bring it. I'm scared.
It's a I think it's a good question. It's a fun one.
Okay.
There's a common saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And so I actually found out from Dr. Alan Leica, he was a guest on the show. Loved this episode because it really shifted my perspective. You can make a horse drink. You just have to salt its oats. Now,
Mm.
I want you to think of a person with a really fixed mindset. They're not willing to accept help and they're not willing to accept change.
Yeah.
How can we, you and I, create an environment that salts their oats and helps them change their life?
Hmm. That is a wow. What a question. What was that guy's name? Alan Laird?
Alan Leica.
Alan Leica. Shout out, man.
I
I
know.
gotta I gotta go back and listen to that episode. Okay, so earlier today I was meeting with a 14-year-old boy that is really into this music that sounds awful. It's I kept joking that the band is called Murder Friends, but it's like Suicide Boys or something. And I was like, hey, like, can we listen to some of this together? And he's like, you could just see the defeat in him. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't
Yeah.
like. So I pulled up Apple Music and shared my screen, and we were listening it together. And then I figured out how I could show the lyrics in real time. It's scrolling through it, and the lyrics were rough. I mean, it was dark. Murder Friends. I'd like, not good, not good.
Yeah.
And I think what I didn't want to do with this young man was to shame him. Like my goal, actually, it sounds like probably like, boy, what you doing? Like, listen to this junk. you know,
Yeah.
it actually wasn't what I was trying to do, but I was trying to be collaborative with him. Like, this is something you do alone in private. Like, could I enter that world? And like, how do you feel doing that in collaboration? Does it take on a different tone? Does it take on a different life? And he's like, yeah, probably not going to listen to them anymore. Like, I mean, cool. I think that's a good decision, because I mean, it is. Please don't look this up. It's awful. It is awful. But I think like coming alongside of someone and collaborating, coming alongside someone and holding their arms up, I think that gives them the encouragement to like take the drink, to do the thing that they need to do. So did that make any sense, what I just said?
It made perfect sense.
Ooh, I'm so glad.
Yeah. Be collaborative, enter their private world, give them a chance to, be loved for who they are, be seen and accepted. And I think it salts some oats.
Yeah, that was a good recap. Holy cow, you paid attention.
Thank
This
you.
is why you're probably the best podcaster in the world. Have you been told that before?
I have not been told that before.
Well, I think it. I've been on a lot of podcasts. This one's pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Well, awesome, man. That's all we got for you. So is there
Cool.
anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
Can I just give like a blanket encouragement to people? Like, this is so important to me. Man, your story matters. Your story is a gift that you could give someone else. Like, don't keep it to yourself. That's not good. Your gift, your story can be a tool to help other people. I know that it can be scary, like when you give your story away, people can hurt you, right? Like, that's a possibility. And I think it's an act of love. I think to love is to risk. So you're taking a chance, but in my experience, man, it pays off like way more than it doesn't. And it makes a difference like you wouldn't believe. And I think for me, it's made a bigger difference for me than it's made for other people. Like, I'm really solid and secure in my story, even though it sucks. Like, it is just not a good story, but like, it's been really beneficial for me. So if I could give an encouragement as people are chasing their dreams, living their dreams, man, don't be shy to like give away that gift, because I think you will find friends and followers and people that believe in you, and that's what's up. I think that's so important.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
I
it.
did it. I did it. We did it. This is awesome, man.
Well, awesome, Jim. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me, Timothy. You're the best at this. Don't stop.
I appreciate it. And if you guys are listening to this and you loved what Jim had to say, make sure to check out his book, check out his coaching. All the links to do so will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.